Zach, welcome to you. What was the biggest surprise to you from sitting down and spending time with Tim Cook?
Biggest surprise?
Or does this man have any surprises?
Well, I think yes, that is the surprise. I think the line on him sometimes is that he is a very buttoned up corporate executive with no surprises to give. And the thing about him in person is that he's actually like a very lively, very charismatic Southern gentleman who you kind of get why he's been so successful running this company, because he's very smart, very interested, and very kind of entertaining to be around, honestly.
I had always heard he had a little bit of an edge, perhaps, in meetings and with, subordinates and that kind of thing. I don't know if that's kind of dulled or fallen away over the years as his results have spoken for themselves, but he's widely recognized as having one of the greatest second acts in corporate history.
Yeah, and I think the edge point that you're making is a really interesting one. I think he is a demanding person. And you'd have to be in that job. And it's actually one of the reasons why he's interesting to talk to, because if you're imprecise or a little lazy or a little sloppy about something, he'll notice that. And I think as far as working for him, he and I talked about this, he's a Socratic method guy. He's going to ask you questions and test how well you understand something. And if you understand it, great. If you don't, he's going to keep asking more questions, and that might be uncomfortable for you.
Steve, I turn to you now, because when I hear that the company is betting on, this headset, and obviously at some point this headset will be very important, but aren't we all realizing that maybe the metaverse isn't going to be as big of a universe and a total addressable market, if you will, as we previously thought, and that AI is really the game changer here? Do they risk getting meta'd, so to speak, by these ambitions?
They sure hope they're not going to get meta'd, but more interesting than what this headset can actually do, and by the way, we might learn in June at their WWDC event, that's in early June. Look, more interesting than what this thing can do, we kind of already understand what these headsets can do. How do they pitch it? How do they market it? Because what Meta's doing is not working for them. They've already had to slash the price of their latest and greatest headset. They've failed to really show a use case. There's not a big developer ecosystem out of there. So Apple has its work cut out for it. They have to get up there on stage and say, you've seen these terrible headsets before. We're all confused by it. But here's how Apple sees it. Here's how Tim Cook, we're talking about Tim, here's what Tim thinks the future of this is, and he told Zach, augmented reality. He's been ringing that bell for 5 or 6 years now, how important augmented reality is. Keep in mind, Kelly, here's what they did. Years ago, they gave people the tools they needed to do AR on the phone.
True.
So they have that foundation already that Meta doesn't have and that other tech companies just don't have yet, just by the scale of how many iPhones are out there. So they can take that foundation, build on it from there. But again, what's the marketing pitch? Who's going to buy this? Why should they buy it? How is it better or more compelling than what we're already using?
Zach, do you want to weigh in on that in terms of what this company thinks will be the product or the kind of, technology innovation that gets them to $3 trillion if they're ever going to get there?
They've been there before.
Get back there. Get back there. Let me emphasize.
Back there, yeah. They got there once already. One is, Tim was obviously very circumspect about what he would and wouldn't confirm when we spoke about this. I did ask, this has not succeeded in the market before. What makes you think that Apple could be different? And of course, the point that he made, it's very much part of Apple's self-image, is Apple routinely comes in the market and does a product that already exists better than other people are doing it. So I think in that sense, you can count on Apple to be, if they do this, confident that they're going to do it in a way that is perhaps more successful than some of their competitors. And then, as Steve said, Tim is very interested in AR. He's very interested in the possibilities of overlaying the digital world with the real world. And there's the delivery system for that, which I think there's a lot of controversy about, but I think they have a lot of clarity about this. Has a lot of potential for creative collaboration. This has a lot of potential for the kind of day you have now, but better and more effective and more creative. And so in that sense, I think the AR dream is still very alive. Whether or not the headset that may or may not exist effectively delivers that is a different question.
Before we let you go, Zach, how did Tim Cook end up on the cover of GQ? I mean, how long did that take? What was the pitch?
He was at a party in New York a couple days ago too, wearing a blue tux and with Donald Glover. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Give us the scoop.
Yeah, can confirm he looked great. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I've interviewed Tim before. He and our editor-in-chief at GQ, Will Welch, have spoken before, and we had this issue, these creativity awards that Steve referenced. We had a lovely gala on Thursday, and we were thinking about what epitomizes modern creativity. And I think there's some intuitive ones like Donald Glover, and there are some maybe not as intuitive ones like Tim Cook. But
Sure.
if you think about creativity in the last 20, 30 years, Apple has played a huge, huge role in every creative's life.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I think Tim made a lot of sense for that.
No, and I like knowing what makes him say, yes, I want to be known for that. That's who we are. Zach, it's great stuff. Thanks for joining us.